let me show you something here. This is an interview that I think it was who's this again? Judge Napoli. He did with a CIA officer about these leaks. Now, this CIA officer, former CIA officer, if there is such a thing, is called Larry Johnson, and he thinks that the leaks, these Pentagon leaks, were controlled, that they were organized. Now, you make up your own mind, but let's listen to him.
Joins us now. Larry, in the past 12 hours, the Washington Post has come out with a story that seems too fantastic to believe, that the leaker of the secured, top secret, no foreign documents prepared by and for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and his team is in fact a 21-year-old Air National Guardsman from Fort Bragg or Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and that this was originally shared amongst a group of teenage gamers, of all things. Is this even remotely credible?
No. It's a lie. It's a fabrication. The Washington Post, this first surfaced with a cat, Bellingcat. Bellingcat is a front for the British intelligence. That's where the story first surfaced. Washington Post then picks it up, and the Guardian then picks it up on the same day. So this is a coordinated media strategy. This is a disinformation campaign. The documents are real. I'm not saying that the documents are fabrications. They are not. But this cover story that's been manufactured to explain how these documents came to be produced, it just falls apart. It most simply falls apart based upon one document in that mix, which is listed as CIA Operations Center report, top secret. I worked in the CIA Operations Center. I helped prepare those reports. That's an internal CIA document. No one on a U.S. military base anywhere in the world will have access to that kind of document, for starters.
Sorry, but he's right. You know, if you go and read the Vault 7 leaks, you learn, you gain insight into how the intelligence agencies in America don't trust each other at all. I'm pretty sure that's the case elsewhere, in Britain and so on, but definitely in Britain. I know you just go read the files from World War II and prior, but you gain insight about how the CIA was basically bugging the computers. I don't remember where this was, the NSA? It was one of the other alphabet three-letter agencies, because they felt that those agencies were not sharing everything that they had, all their information, with the CIA. And so the CIA wanted to make sure they got everything. And so they would go and bug their own fucking colleagues in American, law enforcement. I mean, it's amazing, right? So when he says that there's no way you're going to see a CIA document on a U.S. military base, I believe him. I definitely believe him. And the only possible, I mean, dude, maybe a general or a member of Biden's cabinet would have something like that with them, or someone at the at the director of national intelligence, but not some 21-year-old in Massachusetts who's not even an NCO. He's not even a non-commissioned officer, like a sergeant or something. I don't even know what rank he is. He's something. I read the affidavit. It's ridiculous. There's no way he's got CIA documents. I just don't believe that. And like him, I'm not saying necessarily documents are fake, but why would he have something like that? It's something's fishy, man. I don't know. Anyway, I'll let him continue.
Who or what is spreading the misinformation? Is this CIA feeding garbage to their friends in the American and British media?
I'd put it above the CIA. This is elements connected to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, because that's the one place where you bring together CIA, FBI, NSA, DIA, all the key elements. They are the one place in the U.S. government where you can assemble all this material. And the way this thing was so neatly packaged up, until I saw that CIA document, I was inclined to believe that this was simply the act of a whistleblower wanting to flag the problems about the public discrepancy between what Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, and Mark Milley, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the lies they were telling in public, as opposed to the actual reality of what they were being briefed on in secret, top secret briefings every day.
How embarrassed is the Biden White House, the Pentagon, and Langley, CIA, over these leaks?
Some are embarrassed and horrified by it, but what I think the strategy that's underway is this information was leaked with a variety of purposes to prepare the U.S. public for the crash landing that's going to take place with respect to U.S. foreign policy, the crash landing in Ukraine, the crash landing in China. In fact, we're already seeing elements of just the, if you call it the...
Or are you saying this was a controlled leak? Yes. Done by management, not done by some Edward Snowden, Bradley Manning type?
Yeah, there's some elements within management who thought this was a good idea. I mean, this shows how both unprofessional and ridiculous it is. I mean, and dangerous. And the information that was leaked about Israel, part of that comes from a FISA. It's got a FISA classification on it, which that doesn't necessarily mean this is Department of Justice FBI territory. So again, there's no way that some National Guardsman who's doing TDY at Fort Bragg would have access to that. And I'm not basing that upon what happened to me 40 years ago. For 23 years, up until about 3 years ago, I worked in these SCIFs. And I still have friends that do, who are retired CIA and retired NSA and retired FBI. And I talk to them, and they're still seeing the material. None of them have seen anything like this, particularly that CIA Operations Center document or the FISA document. Right. They have complete access to the high side, the top secret side. They have special access programs, SAP clearances. So that's why I say this thing is too tidy a package. This has been wrapped up nice and neatly. This is like an episode of Law and Order.
Well, look, man, I can't help but agree with him in regards to the FISA. He mentioned one of them had FISA written on it. You guys remember FISA, Bush era. So Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. The thing is, that's Department of Justice jurisdiction, right? You have to remember something when it comes to people who work in all these agencies. They have all these huge egos, right? They each one of them wants to think, that they're the most important in the hierarchy, and when they go stepping on each other's toes, that's a recipe for a disaster, right? So I'm just thinking, why would that guy who is, again, I don't know, he was E1 was his rank, yeah, E1. I'm trying to look up the affidavit. It was written in here. So he joined the military, I think, 2 years ago. Look, man, there's no way you're getting that kind of access in 2 years. You know when you watch like all those spy movies, everybody in the film has like gray hair. Yeah, because they spent their whole goddamn lives in as career officers or whatever it is to get to that level where you actually have access to this kind of information. Sorry, man. No offense, but you're just your rank is not that high enough. As a gamer, you should know all about that. Not seriously, but I went through his let's talk about the affidavit for a second, right? So I went through this. It's interestingly enough, the New York Times posted it on their website as well. I later found, but they won't post the documents, right? Once again, they want to be good little doggies for the deep state, right? They'll talk about the documents and ones that are aligned with their interests, but they're not going to actually show them to you. Even though they're available on the internet, you can find them on the internet. Sky News will blur them out like good little doggies and the New York Times won't actually give you the documents to look at for your, for yourself and to make up your own mind like an adult, because their masters would not be happy. I mean, this is the worst leak in history, man. WikiLeaks would never do this to us. Do you think WikiLeaks would treat us like this? Do you think WikiLeaks would do that? First of all, WikiLeaks would have redacted anything that's really, really dangerous to somebody. And I don't think there was anything of that sort here. But WikiLeaks would have just dumped everything neatly in one goddamn place for me and you and everybody to just read without any editorial opinion or molding on their part. Just here, read it and see for yourself. That's it. There's respect. You're treated like a human being, like someone who has a brain. Here, read it, make up your own mind. They don't try to poison your mind. They don't try to influence you. They don't try to brainwash you. They don't try to spew a narrative or do any kind of mind control. They just give you the documents. That's why Julian Assange is rotting in a prison cell, right? Because he actually does his job as a journalist. He actually does journalism. All these clowns in the New York Times and Bella and Pussy running around doing the FBI and law enforcement's work for them to out a source rather as opposed to protecting a source. They are not journalists. They wish they did as much journalism as Julian Assange's pinky, right? They wish. And make no mistake, Jack Teixeira, I have no clue who this guy is. I don't care. But from what I can tell, if he is the leaker, there's certainly no indication he's a whistleblower. So there's, I don't know if this whole narrative that, he wanted to impress his friends is true, but I can tell you from the affidavit, they're charging him with 2 counts of the Espionage Act. Now, remember, each count is 10 years. So if he were to be convicted, he's looking at 20 years in prison. But remember, Chelsea Manning got 35 and she leaked 700,000 documents to WikiLeaks. I think the number is actually 700,000. I correct me if I'm wrong. She leaked. The point is, she leaked infinitely more documents and infinitely more sensitive documents that were in the public. The general interest, and were in the public interest, and had to be seen by the general public. I'm not contesting that. You guys know. My point is that she did a lot more, and she was a whistleblower, and she got hit with 35 years. So this guy, no way he's getting 20. Again, maybe I'm wrong, and it turns out they actually give him 20, but I really doubt it, because he's not a whistleblower and he's not a spy, from what we can tell, thanks to the New York Times and the FBI agents who work at the New York Times and Bell and Pussy. But from the affidavit, so again, it's on the New York Times website, and we were just listening here to former CIA officer Larry Johnson, and he's saying that this was a controlled leak. He could be right. I told you the last video I did that maybe this is all just psyops. It's just, they want to distract us from something else or fill our minds with crap, right? I don't know if, I can't say whether the documents are, inauthentic, because, the only thing that was annoying me, which I told you last time, is how people were photoshopping the number of losses, some people would make it to look like Russia was incurring, more losses, or it was the other side were saying it was Ukraine. Look, man, I really, that annoyed me a lot, but it's not important. And the rest of the stuff seems to be genuine. I don't know about, the only thing that stuck out to me as being a bit weird was the Egypt one, because everyone was saying it's false, both Russia, the US, and Egypt, that, Egypt was supposedly arming the Russians. So you make of that what you will. But the CIA document and the FISA document, those stick out like a sore thumb. the Operations Center one and the FISA one. Those stick out like a sore thumb. This guy is right to call this out for being a tad bit fishy, right? We'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, you guys, please tell me in the comments, what you think of all this. I've presented you with all the information that one can possibly gather about this story. Last time in the other video, we investigated what is actually in the documents. And now I told you everything, surrounding this story. So the background information about these FBI agents pretending to be journalists at the New York Times and Berlin Pussy, outing this guy, and also the charges that he's been hit with. So 2 counts Espionage Act, and the mainstream media making sure that you don't actually read or see any of these documents because that would upset their paymasters and their well, I don't like to say paymasters because I don't think it's a question of money. These people are just genuinely dumb and brainwashed, and doing really evil crap, running an evil empire. So this is wild. As I said, the biggest scandal here that's with the manhunt, right? Trying to find this guy's identity. Not the police doing it. No, the others. And I want to show you something. One last thing. You know how a few days ago Reuters posted this? Reuters said that Russia is likely behind the leak of these Pentagon documents, according to some U.S. officials. So that's what they said. They posted that published that on April 7th. They do this all the time, where they'll go and they'll quote some anonymous U.S. sources, which they don't out, right? They don't tell you who they are. And they'll publish a bunch of garbage and all this stuff. Glenn posted here that under basic journalistic ethics, the only time it's justifiable, indeed required, to out a source is when they purposely cause you to disseminate lies. Does this mean Reuters will reveal which anonymous sources caused them to falsely claim that Russia did this leak? It's a good bit of tongue-in-cheek right there. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. And God save us from this cringe.